I appreciate everyone here. We're going to get started to try to keep the program on track. So my name's Anh Nguyen. I am the head of community engagement at Twine. And Twine is essentially a, hi, Evan. Evan is also from Twine. So he's here as my backup. So Twine is a video networking solution that basically helps recreate those serendipitous and unplanned conversations that used to happen in the hallway, Evan likes to use the example of the bus on the way to the social event at a conference, and the types of conversations where you don't expect them, but they spark, new ideas, and you meet new people and you create connections that you otherwise wouldn't have. So Twine tries to recreate that in the online environment. So what I'm here to sort of talk to you about today, and it's meant to be very interactive. So please do turn on your cameras. We have the ability to sort of mute you if there's background noise or whatever, but we want to keep this as interactive as possible. I'm going to talk a little bit about the rise of remote work and the role of event profs and why event planners should care about this. You're not hearing a lot about this right now in the event planning world, but I think that soon you will start to. So when I talk about remote work, I think a lot of things come up for people. So there's some pros and cons to it, the ability to work anywhere, the flexibility, lots of Zoom meetings. I think people sort of have and are still developing their relationship with remote work and how work has changed. In the last 2 years, we've all recently kind of learned that there's, like I said, lots of pros and cons. So some pros, there's no commuting. I'm wearing slippers right now. I'm maybe wearing sweatpants, the autonomy, more time with your family, that kind of stuff, and the flexibility that remote work offers are really positive elements of it. And then, you talk to people about some of the things that they don't love about remote work. So the lack of connection, and oftentimes I'm just like sitting here in my basement on my own, feeling very siloed at work. Not having lots of opportunities for that kind of organic collaboration and brainstorm. So there's no denying that remote work is complex, but there's certainly also no denying that remote work is here to stay. But I think more importantly, it's like, why are we talking about this at an event planning conference is probably the question that you have. So I have some staggering statistics about remote work that might help paint why this is an important trend we should be paying attention to. 91% of employees in the US are working at least some hours remotely, and they want it to stay that way post-pandemic. 3 out of 10 employees are going to quit if their job removes the option to work remotely. So if they're forced to go back in the office. So that's 1 out of every 3 of your team members not staying if they don't have the ability to work remotely. There are 300% more applicants that apply for a job if the job has listed as a remote work instead of going into an office. So you're accessing 300 times more of the talent in theory when you offer the ability for people to work remotely. And, this is a stat from a tech startup is in 2019, 39% of their staff were remote, and last quarter it was 74%. So I think if anything, what these stats show you is that this is a growing trend. It's a growing way that we are going to work, and it's not going anywhere. And I know you're probably still asking, like, why as event planners should we care about this? And I fundamentally believe that anything that changes the way we work is going to change the way that we meet and the way that we connect as humans. And this is why event planners should care about this. So a concept that will start to resonate with us as event profs is the concept of a weak tie. So the era of remote work has ushered in a lot of changes. We consistently hear about loss of connection, loss of community, loss of camaraderie. And this is not unlike the challenges we faced when the whole world moved to virtual events, right? The feeling of not being in a ballroom together, not feeling that buzz from like a happy hour at your conference. And so the office is starting to feel this. People who are working in offices and used to work in offices are starting to feel this. And so at work, you have the concept of what are strong ties. So the people you work with every day, the people you need to talk to get your job done, they're your core teammates. And then there are these weak ties, the folks that you don't work with day to day, but the ones where when you run into them in the hallway or in the lunchroom, they give you context about what else is happening in the business. They give you a feeling of belonging to something greater, a feeling of being part of a community at work. And that's what makes work human, right? Otherwise, we're all just robots completing tasks in our desk. It's the connections that we have with the people outside of our team, those weak ties, that make work feel like we belong to something bigger. And a survey of like 61,000 Microsoft employees found that in the era of remote work, your strong ties are stronger than ever. So the people you have to talk to every day, you're communicating with them constantly. But your weak ties are all but basically being decimated, right? You're not going to call out Bob from accounting to ask how his daughter's ballet recital was on a Zoom, because that just feels awkward and contrived. So you're losing those connections that you used to have at work that made it sort of fun to go to work. Okay, one last time. Why should event planners care about this? So I think that event planners should care about this for 4 reasons. One, that it's a big problem and there are big dollars being spent to solve it. So a quick search, if you search engaging remote teams or building remote team camaraderie, shows a whole host of training, products, solutions, software, Twine being one of them, to help solve this problem. And investors are doubling down on the idea that remote work isn't going anywhere, and that any tools or skill sets that can be used to solve this problem, they're going to pay for. So for example, I found a job, like I'm not looking for a job, Evan, so don't tell anyone, but there was a job listed that popped up on my LinkedIn at Coinbase. So a crypto company that they don't list the word event planner anywhere in the job title, but the job title is Director of Employee Experience and Remote First. And this whole person's role is to identify how the workforce is connecting, identify gaps in how these humans are connecting, and then design program and experiences and strategies to help bring them together. So the word event is not listed anywhere in the job posting, but hello, that is an event planner. And the salary for this job is $225,000 a year. So we're not joking about this being a big problem and companies spending big dollars to solve it. So the second reason is that in a remote world, everything becomes an event, right? So back pre-COVID days, you would have the social committee or an office potluck or whatever that might be. And it falls sort of under these like HR initiatives. And in person, there's almost kind of a hierarchy of events. So you're going to spend big dollars on a consultant, on AV, lots of production to plan your external marketing event for your clients. But your team social is going to get maybe $500 to go get some pizza and do a Christmas Secret Santa gift exchange. That's kind of how the hierarchy of in-person events used to work between external and internal. Now that we're all sitting at computers, that sort of level sets everything for us, right? So anything that you're doing when you bring your team together virtually is now an event. It requires design, production, thinking about audiovisual, thinking about content design. And so no matter how a remote team decides to connect, the skills that we have as event planners and being intentional about those connections applies to everything. So even from onboarding, Adam and I have had a conversation about how onboarding is now not just an HR experience, but it's, here we go. We're going to take a group of new people. We're going to put them through a series of programming, content, activities. And then we hope that at the end of it, they've learned something and they change their behavior and they act and become part of their community. Again, no one ever says that that's an event, but that's exactly what it is, right? We've moved people through a change process by designing a space and experience for them to do so. And that at the core of it is what an event is. So everyone in your company is going to become an event planner anytime they do anything virtually. And if you're the person in the organization that has that skill set, it's going to become very valuable. The next thing here is that in IRL, in real life, now matters more than ever. So in a couple of weeks, we are planning our fully remote team of 9 people are heading to Palm Springs for our quarterly offsite. And these 4 times a year that we spend together sort of make or break the morale of our company. You can tell like right before when we really need an offsite, and then the week after an offsite, how jazzed everyone is to be back working on sort of our big boulders. And I'm putting all of my event prof skills to the use as I plan this offsite for our team. So that includes everything from pre-event mapping of what people need, some empathy and journey mapping, designing an agenda, all of the logistical details. And so I have a whole host of experience and skills that are now useful in this remote world for a very important thing. Ask any remote company that you talk to, and the moments that they come together to meet in person have become more important than ever. They are sort of like the keystone moments in a year for a company. And if you're the person that can deliver those and deliver them well, like we're used to doing, and managing our stakeholders and making sure that these events meet business objectives, and we're talking about in-person events like we used to plan. If these are make or break for your organizations and you sort of hold the linchpin to all of that, that's extremely powerful, right? It's extremely elevating for your career and how you position yourself in your organization. And the last thing, really kind of on the same vein, is that this is a CEO problem. Not being able to connect your team leads to retention issues, morale issues, productivity, team culture, and all of that has a massive impact on the bottom line. Any CEO out there that's running a remote company or thinking about how they get back to an office is thinking about this problem. And for the first time, we have the tools to solve a CEO level problem. I've been an event planner for, 15 years, and it's constantly us trying to get a seat at the table and not just be thought of as party planners and not just be thought of like, can you book the hotel rooms and the catering? The disconnect that remote work has created within teams is becoming such a major issue that they're talking about it at a C level. And this is where you're starting to see these job titles that report directly to the VP of HR, report directly to the VP of talent, right? And this is our chance to get that seat at the table, especially internal planners who have been used to sort of getting the scraps of budget and time and resources to connect employees. This trend of work and the future of work sort of becomes our chance to really showcase what our abilities to connect humans can do for an organization. So I think those are the reasons that event planners should start paying attention to this problem. And given that this is meant to be like an interactive roundtable, I'm encouraging everyone to turn on their cameras. There's a couple of questions that I would love to discuss in terms of where this goes for us. So everything from, how do we work with the HR and people teams to bring engagement within companies? There's got to be a little bit of a synergy between these two groups now, because a lot of this falls under HR. Do employees really care about feeling connected, or do they just want to like work in their basement and shut their computer off at the end of the day, and we're making sort of a mountain out of a molehill? And, if this is a problem, what are the ways that we can make it known in our organizations that we have these skill sets, or how do we promote these skill sets to organizations? Those are some of the things I think would be interesting to talk with you guys about in like the last 10 minutes that we have. So Adam, since your camera is already on, you can kick us off, and please, everyone else, turn your cameras on or put it in the chat. I'm happy to open it up for discussions.
Okay. Putting me on the spot, are you?
Sorry, Adam.
That's okay. So I mean, I guess looking at what are the ways we can make it known that we have these skill sets. So I think that, like I am looking for a job right now. And one of the things that I'm doing is making that connection in like my proposal to a CEO. Hey, here's my skill sets and here's how they connect to the, the outcome changes or behavior changes that you would want to see in your company. So, things like organizing or planning, are actually kind of at the bottom, but more so thinking about things like how do we, help our employees feel more engaged or feel more connected with each other. So, this is something that we've been doing for a long, long time as event people. And so being able to show, hey, like this is what I do all day long.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we as an industry, I find sometimes do a terrible job of like explaining the value of our skills. But finally, I think there's a problem that is so prominent and top of mind. Like you hear about this all the time, right? And it's like we have the skill sets to help solve this. That I think this is kind of the moment to capitalize on this, literally.
Yep. I think like if I can jump in here and add my 2 cents on this. So I think like event organizer skills are so important and were maybe underestimated for a long time. And then COVID hit and everything changed for everyone, like the whole industry, organizations, freelancers, everything's changed. So I think that today these skills can actually bring so much value and so much, like understanding the strategy behind what motivates people, what will make them connect, either it's virtual or in person, doesn't matter today. I think that's the key element of a successful event. So we need to understand how to gather all of these, important features and how we can embrace this need and make it meaningful for everyone who is joining. Again, doesn't matter if it's virtual or in person or both in case of a hybrid event. I think that's something that is really important to understand how to do it in the best way today for organizations, for sure, and also for small businesses and for individuals. So I think we all want to be connected in a way. So what is the right way to do it? That's, I think, the question here.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious, like the people who are on here, are you working remotely? Are you back in the office? I'm most curious about, do employees really care about feeling connected? Sometimes I tell people about Twine and they're like, well, I don't want to make small talk with my coworkers. And so there's like that audience of it too. But I'm curious, the people here, are you working remotely? Are you feeling this disconnect? And if you're not camera ready, because in a remote world, you sometimes aren't, feel free to put it in the chat. Let us know how things are happening with your organization in terms of return to work and what you guys are doing to stay connected. So Liz says we are in the office 2 days a week and remote the rest. And that's a really interesting point, because the couple places that I've heard this hybrid term used is events. In the classroom, I've heard that as well. But now, as we talk about some people giving the flexibility for hybrid work, right? So you work from home some days and you work from the office a couple days. All of the stuff that we talk about for hybrid events now also apply to that world, right? How do you engage both audiences and how do you connect them and make sure that they're interacting? Like those strategies become even more important in a workplace, I would say, than at an event. Ryan, you turned your camera on. I don't know if you just joined and your camera automatically turned on, but you're on stage now.
Oh, I don't think I meant to do that. I'll turn my camera off. Sorry.
Everybody's the worst with that, where you just like pop in. Kate says she's still working from home, but this is likely to change next week. Just waiting on new guidelines after an announcement this week. Before the last restrictions, we were 2-2-1 format. Yeah, so I think hybrid workplaces are also a thing we should start paying attention to, and what strategies from the hybrid event world can we take and apply to the workforce. And some of this might be, your organization hasn't even thought about this. They don't know that this is a problem yet. And that's also a good opportunity for you to sort of be a leader in the team, right? Like the type A kind of initiative, take initiative, self-starters that most of people become event planners. Like that skill set's going to be really useful, as this is a totally new, undefined problem that companies will have to solve. That it's a really great opportunity to sort of make your mark in the organization. If you're used to just being the person that like plans the Secret Santa holiday party that doesn't get the kind of attention, just as much work, but doesn't get the kind of attention that it typically has. So anyone else have any other thoughts?
Yeah, and I think employees really do care about feeling connected. One of the things I noticed when my past employer, MPI, had an in-person event, we all expected that they would be there for the education, because they had been there for the education throughout the entire pandemic up to that point. But what we actually learned was the breakout sessions were empty and the networking was full. People were out exploring the city. They were at the bar. They were trying to hang out with other people face to face because they craved it so much. And I think the same is true in the remote work environment, where they used to meet in the break room, for a 30-minute lunch and talk about family, talk about, art, talk about movies they had seen or whatever. And then, that got lost. And so now giving people opportunities to have those conversations builds trust, builds innovation. And it is the event organizer's responsibility a lot of times to do that. So I'm excited for the industry, just having been in this industry for so long, and the opportunities and the new jobs that are popping up, directors of fun, directors of remote, all these new titles, and the possibilities of event organizers to jump into those roles.
Yeah. If anyone wants to see that job posting, I refer to the $200,000 salary, $225,000 US salary. Hit me up. I can send it to you. It's on my LinkedIn. I posted about it, but it just floored me because I couldn't believe for a crypto company that's so forward looking, for them to be thinking about that and paying that kind of salary is like a pretty big signal that this is coming. So anyways, yes, great reminder. What we're about to do in about 4 minutes, and Evan and I are biased here, but Twine is going to power some speed networking inside this event. So my session is going to wrap up right away here. If you want to reach out to me, I'm just at ann@twine.nyc, ANH though, but I'm also in the networking platform. And we're going to do some speed networking on Twine. So I think there's like a pop-up that's going to come up, and you're going to join us for some one-on-one speed networking with your fellow attendees. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Let me know if you have any questions, reach out to me, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Twine.
Thank you.
And thanks, Adam, for letting me put you on the spot.
All good.
That's a key event planning tip. Always plant someone in your workshop so that you're not talking to nobody.
Well, I'm not biased, and I have used the Twine networking, solution, and it's absolutely amazing. I loved it. So I really encourage everyone to go and check it out yourselves. It's a great experience, very ice-breaking and fun and interactive. So don't hesitate. I think I found a few great friends this way. So I really think that's an amazing product that you cannot check in any other place. So just feel free, guys. And thank you again, Anne, for this amazing session.
Yes, you're welcome. And you have 2 minutes to comb your hair and put on a sweater. Because camera's on.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.